What's up, guys? It's Church here, and a friend of mine asked me if I would make a video on the takedown of the G19 by Stark Arms. And it's really simple. It basically is just about one screw, if I can recall correctly. But what you want to do is also, before I dive into the takedown, these are the two holes I drilled to mount my doctor sight. And so my doctor sight screws right on top like that. And this is a bit of a CAG build for all those familiar. It's a work in progress. I stippled it last night and painted it this morning, and I have a barrel on the way that I'm going to modify, and I'll make a video on that. But basically, I just drilled two holes right here with a Dremel, and the screws in the bottom of the doctor go right on top and just screws right down. All I did was tap it to the proper thread size, and I can't recall that off the top of my head, but anyhow, into the takedown. Remove the magazine, charge it, upper and lower separate. You can set the magazine in the lower aside. Take out your recoil, your spring guide and spring, the recoil spring, inner barrel and outer barrel. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. So from here, I normally take off the rear sight. It should just slide out like so. And to remind you guys, this is a Stark Arms, aka VFC Glock 19. You can see the full auto switch right there, if I can catch it in the light. And so to take it down from here, let's see if I can remember how to do this. Take this, it's a small Phillips head, remove this screw right here in the back of the slide. And then this black piece will fall out, and you don't want to lose this. And then after that, you can go punch that screw out, so you can set it to the side as well. And then from there, the really tricky part of all this is getting this assembly out. So from here, I normally try to work this up and out. And I grab it from the back of the slide right here and the air nozzle right here, and just slowly kind of work it out. And you want to be careful. You want to make sure you have it over a mat or something, because as you saw, whenever I pulled the housing out, this spring came out. And also, if you're not careful, if you separate this part, there's a very, very small spring right here as well. I'm not sure that my camera will focus on it, but there's a very small spring and that selector notch for the semi to full auto switch. And so we'll go ahead and take it all the way down, or as far as I really deem necessary. Do not lose this. I doubt you can get replacements for that spring and catch right there. That would really, really suck to lose. And that's pretty much as down as you'll ever see it. From here you can take off the loading muzzle, and you can see the piston, all that, the air nozzle, and everything looks like it's in good condition. So, like I said, I think this is about as far down as anybody would ever take their gun. So we'll go ahead and start the reassembly. Slide the loading muzzle back on like so. And this part is really, really tricky. So you want to make sure that you put the selector in. So the arm that you switch over is pointing that direction, and you can tell by this little L cut right here. So you want it like this, and then whenever I get to this point, I generally will try to drop that spring back in with that little bullet thing. I'm not really sure what you'd call it, the selector. So from there, go and drop it right in. You want to make sure that it's absolutely straight, otherwise it's not going to do anything. I'm also trying out a new camera angle, so I apologize if it sucks. But this is just kind of a last minute thing for a friend, like I said earlier. Up, and that's where they separate right there. So we'll try again. I'll probably edit all this out. And if I don't, then, well, you'll just get to enjoy it. If it takes too long at least. Alrighty. So there, that's situated back in place. Then we're going to take this piece right here, and it'll set right down on top of it. I'm trying to remember how it goes. Right now I believe it's like, well no, it's not like this. It's like this, I believe. There we go, and that rests right down on top like so. Oop. There we go. And then you want to take your back plate and put it back on as well. And before, you can't forget, before you put any of that together, you want to make sure you put your spring back in place, and it rests right here. Now moving on to the slide itself. This is your empty slide, as you can see, and there's the 2 holes I drilled for my mount. And the reason I drilled them there is because this material right here is thicker. It's maybe, I wouldn't say a quarter, but an 1/8 of an inch thick right here. It may be a 1/4 inch, I can't really tell. But that's the thickest part of the slide, and so it logically made sense to put the, tap it and drill it right here. So the screws have more room to thread, and will in turn make it a bit stronger. Aluminum's not a very good metal to tap, but it worked out pretty alright. The screws are just short enough on my Element Doctor sight to come just to the end of the hole, so it doesn't actually impede into the loading muzzle and the cylinder. And so from here, what we're going to do is take this, and literally this spring you want to be careful with on the top, because it goes right in that groove right there in the slide. So we're going to take that. I had to stretch my spring out so it would stay, so it constantly applied tension, and that in turn I believe made the blowback a little bit snappier. But anyhow, moving on, just drop this right back in place, just like so, and you can test it by pulling forwards on this and checking your selector switch, which, as you guys can see, it's good. And lastly, we'll take this screw and drop it right here, and then take this black piece, set it right back in top, in the top under where the sight goes, and hold it there with our finger and screw that right back in place. Be careful to use the appropriate sized Phillips, because the last thing you really want to do is strip this. There we go. I would honestly recommend applying a little bit of Loctite to it. That way that screw doesn't come back, especially or come back out and jam or mess up the slide. But that's pretty much all there is to it. From there, just add your rear sight back in place. Then we're going to come over here, grab our inner and outer barrel, drop those in, take our recoil assembly. Front end first, take the notch right here, and you can kind of see it, the notch in the spring guide, and drop it straight back in here into the inner barrel assembly, the hop-up assembly. And then from there, just put the slide back on. I always recommend being a little careful whenever you put the slide back on, because as you can see, I mean, the rails don't catch up front. I mean, I could take this and put it on right here and put the slide on, but I always choose to, well, I accidentally knocked the fake ejector out. I'll put that back in a minute. That's not a big deal. But I always just run it on the slide at the front, do it real slowly, real carefully, and good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, drop them below. And if you like the video, subscribe. If you hate it, well, not really sure what to tell you what to do if you hate it, but at any note, appreciate the video, guys. Likes show me how much you guys want more videos. Like I said, subscribe if you like what you saw. If you have any questions, ask below. I try to get back to everybody's PMs, so anyhow, thanks again. Bye.